So to kick this haircut off, I'm going in by setting in my first initial guideline with the lever completely closed, just so that it's easier for me to get it out when I'm working my way back down, taking out that very bottom guideline. My next step, I want to go in with the lever completely open, setting in my secondary guideline, just so that I can start to see a transition. And the lever completely open with the one guard is my third step here, and I'm just using the heel of the blade and flicking out as I get towards the top. Closing the lever here, and I'm just nudging at the very bottom. As you can see, it's not taking out that line, but it's lightening it up as much as possible before I come back down and use a lower guard. The highest guard that I'm gonna use at the top of this taper is the number 2 guard with the lever completely open. As you can see, very light pressure, and I'm just working my way into that actual hairstyle on top and using a smooth stroke just so that everything blends together without setting in another hard line. Since the goal is to blend this into the afro on top, into the skin on the bottom, now I'm just feathering through that bulk and essentially just debulking this area without taking off too much, maintaining the darkness. And so now I'm gonna work my way back down with the lever completely open on my 1.5 guard. And I'm just right up under where I left off with the number 2 guard, noticing that the hair is growing towards the back. And so I'm combing it in its natural direction so that it lays down to its natural position. Notice how you can see as I get towards the hairline, I'm combing down because as typical, I want to be able to cut the overhanging hairs on the hairline just so that everything on the hairline is sharp as possible. So as the hair is growing backwards, I still want to be able to comb all the overhang over top of the actual line so that I get the sharpest line possible. Dropping back down to the lever completely open with my 0.5, right up under where I went in with that 1 guard. I'm just using the corner of the blade and detailing any darkness that couldn't come out with the 1 guard. Lever closed here, same exact steps. Here in the back, as you can see, I'm pointing to the more dense area and where you want to actually start your first initial guideline so that you can get a solid guideline and a foundation to where everything starts. You want to be able to actually be cutting into the neck taper, not too low, but not too high. As you can see at the very bottom here, the hair is growing to the left, actually all the way to the top of this taper. So as you can see throughout this, periodically, I'm gonna be working towards the left so that I can completely cut against the grain. Because if I just go up and down, it's gonna be technically cutting across the grain, and I want it at that true length. And so in order to do so, I have to comb it to the left so that it lays to its natural position, but also cutting the hair to the right so that it's technically against the grain. This is still the one guard with the lever just completely closed, and that was just lightening up that very bottom line again. Before I come back in with a lower guard, I just want to be able to utilize this guard and take off as much as possible while still maintaining the darkness. At the 1.5 guard, that's typically where you're gonna tie in the taper to the actual top and the style on top. Typically around the 1.5 to the 2-ish with this length and this style, or it'll typically be the top of your fade in most cases. However, you wanna use the heel of the blade and scoop out so that you're blending into the top without setting in a harsh line. So you don't wanna start digging in and using the tips of the teeth. You just wanna use the heel of the blade and use the full back of the guard and the shape of the back of the head. You really want to use the corner of the blade here and just start below the line and flick through the line without going too high up. But just use the corner of the blade so that you can manipulate darker spots and get into smaller areas little by little without taking off too much and setting in a harsh line. Right here on the hairline, I typically take the front hairline or tapered hairline down to about a 1.5 with the lever completely closed. That's about that length that keeps it dark, but lays it down flat so that when you line it up, it's still a sharp line. Here on the neckline, you want to just start at the widest area and the most fullest area so that you can get a solid line. And then you want to start to work your way around the ear. I do this to set in a foundation or a baseline so that I have a guide as I work around the ear. Something to start with to give me a solid line without taking it too high. Comb it over and just go back over it and clean up any overhang. Shout out to these Barbers and Team 45 trimmers as they do hit. I got them all the way up on the highest max that you can go. They are powerful, they're sharp without cutting the client, so it's definitely important to invest in your tools. Here on the C-cup area, I just want to start at the very top and the lowest point possible without pushing it up too high, and identify and solidify an actual solid line, and then work my way through this curve slowly but surely using the edge of the blade and working my way around it on one side of the blade, only like a pencil, drawing a C or an actual half a circle fit to this haircut, and also keeping in mind that line or the arch around the top of the ear so that it's kind of symmetrical and it goes and everything flows together. Here I'm doing the same thing, just starting at the very bottom, and I'll start to work my way around using again that opposite side just so that I could manipulate the C as much as possible. While fine tuning it little by little, I'm able to control the C cup or the actual arch with using the edge of the blade without taking off too much all at once. So I really want to show you the reference point that I use when I set in my vertical bars. So notice where the end of the eyelid is and the end of almost the end of the eyebrow. I use this as my reference point, and obviously it varies client to client because the head shape obviously and the forehead shape or the hairline and overall, it also differs. However, this is typically around about a rough reference point for each client using the eyebrows and about where the eyelid ends so that you can match both on each side. No, it's not going to be symmetrical every single time. However, that's a automatic go-to for each different client. Around about that area will give you a sharp line and a straight line on each side. And then you just start in the middle and work your way to the outside. Even though this side is not the most dense, I'm still not going in and getting the hardest or sharpest line possible. I'm still just following the line symmetry and just connecting it on the other side at the same exact spot. Obviously knowing that this is the lighter side, I don't need to push it back. Now I'm just going in with some mousse just to moisturize the hair before I go in with the curl sponge. Might I remind you how my client came in looking, and as his barber, it's my job to show up and show out and give him exactly what he's looking for. And without further ado, this is the final results. And if you like this video or you learned anything at all, please share this video with a friend, family member, or fellow barber. Hit subscribe, turn on the bell. My name is Kel, and I'll catch you in the next one.